Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to see, what if Naruto became the Rokudaime Hokage? Before we start, please subscribe the channel. So let's start. Chapter 2. The Good and the Bad. Konoha. The new Hokage stood heroically in the balcony of the Hokage Tower. His haori was flapping in the wind, while the large crowd of people cheered his name. Naruto looked heroic in this display as he soaked in the crowd's reaction. He relished in both the good and the bad. Despite the people's cheers, he could also sense a little bit of doubt lingering in their hearts. He paid it no mind. It only served as inspiration for Naruto to prove them all wrong once more. Among the crowd, Naruto's companions, teammates and classmates looked in awe as their friend achieved his lifelong dream. On one section, the Konoha 11 all gathered together. Naruto's induction as Hokage led to a variety of reactions from Naruto's friends and classmates. "Naruto-kun, your flames of youth burn as bright as the sun. You truly are my eternal rival," loudly yelled Rock Lee. Tenten merely shook her head and walked towards her loud teammate as she hit his head with her fist. "Lee, don't ruin the moment," she scolded. Neji simply watched his teammate's shenanigans. He shook his head in an amused manner, but he also had a small smile on his face. He looked once more towards the balcony at their new Hokage. "I may no longer believe in fate, Naruto, but I do believe it was your fate to be Hokage," he thought to himself as he reminisced of his complicated past with Naruto. At the same time, Team 10 were also having their own set of unique reactions. The new generation of Ino Shikacho all celebrated the success of their longtime friend. Ino gazed towards Naruto's direction, staring at him dreamily. "Now I could really fall for him," she silently told herself. As for the Akamichi, he raised a bag of chips to the sky and dedicated it to Naruto before intensely munching down on it. From the three, however, Shikamaru was the one with the most affected by it. He gazed at his fellow dead last with a proud smile on his face. "Naruto, you troublesome bastard, you did it." Team 8 were also significantly affected by this announcement. From the three Chunin, 2 were clapping as one sulked in the ground. Shino stood stoically as he clapped for his friend. If you could look closer, one could see a hint of a smile tugging at the corners of his lips. Hinata, on the other hand, cheered shyly as her longtime crush finally achieved his lifelong dream. "Naruto-kun," she thought with a blush as she admired her friend stand on the tower's balcony. As for Kiba, the man was kneeling down, punching the ground for losing the Hokage position to his friend. A dark cloud loomed over him as his dog companion Akamaru attempted to comfort him. Hinata also tried to help her teammate while Shino merely shook his head, clearly amused at the antics of his rowdy friend. Deep down, Kiba was happy for Naruto, but that doesn't mean he'd admit it to anybody. Finally, there was Sakura Haruno, the lone kunoichi of Team 7. She watched with widened eyes as she saw her good friend finally achieve her dreams. Then she began to clap and cheer the loudest among their group of friends. Unknowingly, tears cascaded down her cheeks. She was crying tears of joy at seeing Naruto stand in front of them all as their new leader. "The idiot finally did it," she thought to herself as she smiled at seeing the Rokudaime Hokage. She admitted that she had own doubts about the affair, but she had the utmost faith in Naruto that he will find a way to succeed. He always did. She was also slightly surprised to see his attire's lack of orange, but she couldn't help but blush upon seeing the new Naruto. Another small group of Naruto's friends stood in a different area of the crowd. The small group included Kakashi, Guy, Kurenai, Shizune and Iruka. Team Ebisu were also in the group, with the three genin of the team cheering loudly for their boss, while the elder ninjas were speechless upon the sight of their new leader. The group of elder ninjas could not utter a single word. There in front of them was their Rokudaime Hokage. They were all joyful and proud at the young man's achievement, but the group could not get one thing of their mind: his similarity to a certain past Hokage. Soon they were broken off their reverie as the three genin urged them to cheer as well. The older ninjas soon begun to cheer for Naruto, all except for Kakashi. The masked man merely smiled underneath his mask and looked to the sky. "Minato-sensei, Kushina-san, you two should be proud of your son. I am honored to call him my student," he thought to himself. Back on the balcony of the tower, Naruto decided to finally address the crowd. He smiled brightly upon seeing his reception. He has certainly come a long way since his earlier days. He raised one arm slightly and the crowd began to slowly cease their cheering to listen to their leader's words. "I stand here before all of you as your Hokage. This dream of mine has finally been fulfilled. I would not have been in this position without the help of all my friends over the years. They are the reason I turned out to be the man I am today, the man who stands as Hokage before you all," said Naruto as his friend smiled at the young man. It was a typical Naruto display. It was his day to shine, and yet he couldn't help but still include them in the spotlight. "I admit I have not had the best life in childhood growing up. It wasn't always peaches and rainbows. I was alone for most of my life, and I was ostracized due to what was inside of me, and everyone doubted if I would ever succeed as a ninja," he said as the people of Konoha looked down in guilt and shame. They were aware of their mistakes in the past. "But despite all of that, I hold no grudges. I have forgiven all of you a long time ago, and despite my past I will still protect all of you as the Hokage. Do not worry about the past grievances. As Hokage I consider you all as a part of my family, and I promise to you all that I will protect all of you till my dying breath," Naruto continued as the people in the crowd looked up in admiration. They clapped and cheered for him. The people of Konoha were grateful for his forgiveness and dedication. Naruto looked at the people before continuing. He smiled at the reaction of the people, and that simply reminded him of just how much he truly loved the village of Konoha. "Konoha will be in safe hands with me. The will of fire will live on through us, and for future generations, I will make sure that. I swear on the graves of my predecessors I will protect and lead Konoha to the best of my abilities," he stated as the crowd began to cheer louder and louder for the blonde young man. "From this day forth, I will proudly serve the greatest village in the world, Konohagakure no Sato, as the Rokudaime Hokage," he finished. The cheers and the celebrations seemed to have no end in sight. The people of Konoha were beyond ecstatic with the news of a new Hokage. Naruto was adored by the public. He was quickly rising from celebrity status into something much more. Today signified a new age in Konoha, the age of the Rokudaime Hokage, Naruto Uzumaki. Somewhere in the land of fire, the trio of ninjas hailing from Kumogakure continued their journey to Konoha. The Jonin leader Samui was getting annoyed at the bickering of her two Chunin teammates Karui and Omoi. As their journey continued, Karui suddenly lost it. She grabbed her hair out of frustration. "Damn it, how long till we reach Konoha? With the pace we're going, B-sensei may already have been extracted by those Akatsuki bastards. Why can't we just take the fight to them? We don't need Konoha's help. Kumo's army is more than enough," she boldly declared in an angered tone. Samui sighed. She realizes that with the rate they were going, their sensei Killer B's life may be in peril. But she also knew that to even have a chance to rescue and find their sensei, they will need the help of the other nations. "Karui, please be patient. If we were to attempt a rescue mission, we at least need help from Konoha. Akatsuki include S-rank ninjas, and the one who attacked B-sensei was an Uchiha. We are simply overmatched at this point in time," she explained calmly as Karui looked down in defeat. She knew Samui was right. Omoi nodded his head in agreement. "Samui, how long till we reach Konoha?" he asked calmly as he continued to suck on his lollipop. "From my estimations it will take us up to 5 days at most to make it to Konoha. If we are lucky we could probably arrive sometime in the next 3 days, she explained as the two Chunin groaned. The two began to complain at how long their journey has been and how much longer it will take. Samui sighed at the antics of her two teammates' display. "I'm in charge of children," she thought to herself as she shook her head in disbelief. Konoha. Meanwhile, back in Konoha, Naruto's induction ceremony had just finished. The crowds returned to helping in their part to repair the damage left by Pain during his attack. The daimyo also said goodbye to the new Hokage as he decided it was time for him to return to his home, seeing as how his work was done. The Toads also returned to their home in Mount Myoboku once the induction ceremony was finally over. After shaking the hands with the daimyo and the two Konoha commanders, Naruto walked down the tower to make his way to his new office. Upon opening it, he saw his two new elders waiting for him patiently in front of his desk. Once the two saw him, both stood up. "Hokage-sama," they both said simultaneously before bowing down respectfully. "Kaharu-san, Homura-san," the young man greeted. "Hokage-sama, as you know, myself and Homura-san are your two official advisors. We also serve as elders in Konoha, and we have served under the Sandaime, the Yondaime and the Godaime Hokage," explained Kaharu as Naruto nodded. "As your two advisors, we are aware that you are still new to the job and that you still lack the skills required for this position. No offense, Hokage-sama," explained the female advisor. "None taken, Kaharu-san. I'm more than aware of what my strengths and weaknesses are," he answered back calmly. "I see. Well, that is good. But seeing as how this is your first day on the job, allow me and Homura-san to give you the official tour. In this tour we will introduce you to the heads of certain departments in Konoha. It will be important for you to be acquainted with them seeing as they will serve under you. We will also show you the locations accessible only to the Hokage and other high-ranking officials within Konoha. Will this be all right, Hokage-sama? She asked. Naruto nodded. He then glanced over to his new desk. He saw stacks of paper, and he groaned recognizing them to be his paperwork. The paperwork required of him were all vital towards the village, and so he had to treat it with the utmost importance, but he also realized that this tour is an excellent opportunity for him to grow accustomed to his new job and to learn the ropes. With his quick thinking he managed to remember a solution for this dilemma. He looked towards the two advisors and nodded. I think a tour would be a great idea, but before that I need to do something quickly, he said. Homura nodded. By all means, Hokage-sama, he said as Naruto brought up a familiar hand seal. He managed to summon 10 shadow clones in his office and he began to give them orders for when he was away in his tour. Naruto ordered the 10 clones to each do a tenth of the paperwork themselves while he was away on his tour. The 10 clones saluted mockingly before carrying on to do their newly assigned orders. Kaharu and Homura watched in the background. The two looked at each other and shrugged. Both were slightly surprised to see the Hokage manage to learn the secret of the jutsu their sensei created. They did have to admit it was an efficient method. The new Hokage then decided to begin the tour. He and his two advisors quickly made their way. Soon hours fly by between the three of them. During the tour Naruto was first shown around the tower itself. He was shown the elders' offices just below his office, the council room in the top floor of the tower, and the other vital rooms within the tower. Then Naruto was shown to the underground prison of the village, the Konoha Strict Correctional Facility. There he was introduced to the wardens and he was told of the purpose of the area. The prison itself is the most dangerous of Konoha seeing as how it houses the most villainous and violent criminals and missing nins of Konoha. Afterwards Naruto and the two elders returned to the village itself. There he was introduced to the heads of the departments. First was Ibiki Morino, the head of Konohagakure Intelligence Division. Next was the Jonin commander Shikaku Nara. Naruto was already familiar with the two but they explained their roles to Naruto for him to better understand how they could help him in the future. Next on the list was the Hokage Guard Platoon. The two elders introduced Naruto to one of his two forms of bodyguard protection squads. Unlike the four-man Anbu squad, the Hokage Guard Platoon was in charge of Naruto's protection when traveling outside of Konoha. Naruto met the three members of the group. The leader was a Tokubetsu Jonin Naruto recognized from his Chunin exams, Genma Shiranui. Then there was another Tokubetsu Jonin in the group, Reito Namiyashi, and the final member was the lone Chunin from the three, Iwashi Tatami. Naruto was glad to meet them all seeing as how they will be protecting him for years to come. Once they finished with the introductions here Naruto was shown around other areas remaining in Konoha and introduced to other high-ranking officials within Konoha who now work under him. Not too long after the tour was coming close to an end, the last two places were the Konoha Archive Library and the Anbu headquarters. They decided to go to the former rather than the latter first. The library was not an ordinary one within Konoha. This library was placed in the Hokage monument and was only accessible to the Hokage, the elders, the Jonin commander and the Anbu commander of Konoha. Other than that the area was off limits. Naruto was shown the entrance to the area and how to enter it. He needed to place his blood on a seal placed on the door for it to recognize whether or not the person had access to the area, and the seal was recently updated to also include Naruto's blood within the list. This security system worked somewhat similarly to a summoning jutsu. As the three entered the library, Naruto was told of what it held. The library had gigantic shelves full of books, documents, folders, notes and scrolls in the area, all of which were categorized in a neat and orderly manner. Naruto stood in the room in awe. He noted to himself to take advantage of his access to the area seeing as how it could prove vital for his tenure as Hokage. Naruto walked around the library in both shock and awe upon seeing the massive gathering of books and other files. Homura walked over to him. Amazing, isn't it? He asked as Naruto nodded in agreement. Well, Hokage-sama, you have access to all of this. This library contains various scrolls of every jutsu of Konoha. There are also jutsu scrolls from other nations but it mostly contains the scrolls of Konoha. Inside there are also documents, folders and notes from the former regimes. the past Hokages also held their own scrolls and journals which could be found here, and you are more than welcome to take as much as you want, just so long as you return them," explained Homura. "This could prove to be extremely beneficial for me," Naruto admitted, as he continued to explore the large area. After a while Naruto and the two decided to go to their final location, the Anbu headquarters. The Anbu headquarters' secret entrance was within the Hokage Tower basement. There Naruto was shown a secret door and pathway to the base itself. This base proved to be among the many littered all around Konoha, but this also served to be the main base of Anbu. The others were also decimated during the attack of Pain, leaving this to be the sole remaining base within Konoha. As Naruto entered, he was shown through the area until they arrived to the base itself. The area was large, seeing how it was underground. There were various facilities in the area such as changing rooms, offices, conference rooms, bathrooms, gyms, dojos, training grounds, a bar and other recreational rooms. None of those were of concern, however, as they instead made their way to the Anbu commander's office instead. During their walk to the Anbu commander's office, the various Anbu within the base began to salute respectfully towards their new leader. Naruto smiled at the respect he was getting. A few minutes later they finally managed to arrive in the commander's office. Once they arrived, Naruto thought it seemed similar to the Hokage's office but slightly smaller. The Anbu commander bowed, and the three noticed he was accompanied by 4 other Anbu operatives who bowed alongside the commander. It seemed as if the man had been expecting them for some time. "Hokage-sama, it is a pleasure to see you," he said. "Thank you, Anbu commander, it seems you have been expecting us," replied the young Hokage. "Indeed, Hokage-sama, we were awaiting your arrival, as I wish to introduce your new Anbu bodyguard squad to you. I assure you that upon reviewing all my personnel I could not find anybody else more capable than them. They are the best of the best," said the masked man as he pointed to his 4 other members who stood in place proudly. Naruto nodded and smiled as he saw them. He noticed that there were 3 shinobi and 1 kunoichi from the group. "Pleased to meet you all, but before you all become my official protection squad from Anbu, I wish to meet you all without the masks," he said with a smile. The 4 Anbu members all looked towards their commander as if asking for permission. He nodded and the 4 began to remove their masks. Naruto looked at each of them. "Could you please introduce yourselves?" he asked as the 4 nodded. The first to walk up was an average-looking man. He had spiky brown hair and brown eyes. He looked like he was in his mid-30s. "Hokage-sama, I am Katsuro Miyamoto. My roles in the group are as the captain and the tracker. My Anbu codename is Wolf and I have been in Anbu for 15 years, he said proudly before stepping back. Next to walk up was a blonde man with blue eyes much like Naruto who looked to be in his 30s as well. "My name is Daichi Yamanaka, Hokage-sama. My role in the team is as the torture and interrogation specialist of the group. I also serve as a censor. My Anbu codename is Panther and I have been in Anbu for 11 years, he said as he stepped back into the group. Naruto nodded. "This is a good start," he said pleasantly as the lone kunoichi of the group walked up to begin her introduction. She appeared to have a slender and athletic figure. She had dark blue hair and green eyes, and she also appeared to be in her mid-20s. "Hello Hokage-sama, my name is Kaide Suzuki. I serve as the poison specialist, the trap expert and medic of our group. My codename in Anbu is Spider and I have been in the organization for 6 years. Then the final member walked up as Kaide rejoined her group. The young man had dark red hair much like Gaara, but he also had yellow eyes. He appeared to be in his mid-20s as well. My name is Hideki Sato. I am the weapons specialist, infiltration expert and the assassin of the group. In Anbu I am known as Badger and I have been in this line of work for 7 years, he said. Naruto was pleased with the team. Thank you all for agreeing to do this. I feel safe now that my life is in your hands, he told them as the 4 smiled. In behalf of the 4 of us Hokage-sama, we vow to protect your life to the best of my capabilities, said the captain of the group, Katsuro Miyamoto. The Hokage approved of the 4 as he ordered them get ready to begin. The 4 nodded and vanished to station themselves within the Hokage Tower. With this final step now done, the tour was now over and the 3 returned to the office at a leisured pace. Naruto did his best to remember all the places and people from earlier today. As they entered the office once more, Naruto saw his clones hard at work as they quickly and efficiently went through the Hokage's bane known as paperwork. He also noticed the letters properly sealed and placed in the side of his desk and he smiled at the good job done by his shadow clones. The two elders were also surprised at the rate that the clones finished the paperwork. In order to check their work, Homura walked over to the pile of the completed paperwork and began to read a few off the top. He was quite impressed at the performance and the choices of the clones. Their decisions and choices with the paperwork was a little rough around the edges, but that was to be expected. All in all, though, it was quite well done considering Naruto's non-existent experience to this line of work. Naruto saw the impressed expression of the elder and he couldn't help but grin upon seeing their reactions. He then walked over to his new chair and sat in it as he relaxed his aching feet. The two elders then made their way to the front of Naruto's desk as they directed their attention to the young Hokage. "Do you have any questions, Hokage-sama?" asked Koharu. Naruto nodded slightly. "Yes, I do have 2 questions. First off, am I able to promote anybody I see fit? My second one is related to my staff. If I was not mistaken, I am also entitled to an advisor or 2 and a secretary, correct?" The Hokage asked the two. Homura began to answer Naruto's first question. "As for the promotions, unfortunately you are unable to just promote anyone you see fit. For this you have to run your choices over the council during meetings where they will vote on whether or not a candidate is worthy of a promotion, but during times of war or during an invasion attack you are given the ability to bypass the rule, promote whoever you want. You do not need to seek approval from the council. For the second question, Hokage-sama, yes, you are entitled to your own personal staff. You alone are in charge of choosing them, but we do advise you to be cautious as to who you would choose as your advisors. We recommend for you to choose only 2 of them, and even though we will serve as you official advisors, they will be your personal advisors," answered Koharu. "Any other questions, Hokage-sama?" she asked. "Actually, I have another question which popped into my mind. It's about the Jonin vote. I just want to know any details about it, when it will take place and such," he told them. The Jonin vote is a customary tradition to see if one candidate is truly worthy of the position of Hokage. Usually it takes a month or 2 during the reign of the Hokage to see if he is worthy, but due to the state of the village we believe we may push it back to 6 months. During those 6 months you must impress the Jonin of Konoha and show them why you are worthy of the position. During the vote you also need at least 75% of the Jonin votes to be accepted. The votes of Jonin, Anbu and Tokubetsu Jonin are counted during this event, explained Koharu. Naruto understood the answers of the 2 elders. He already had people in mind for a promotion and for his personal advisors and secretary. He also felt no pressure with the Jonin vote. He was confident in his abilities. Sensing no other question, the elders nodded. Koharu then informed Naruto about what tomorrow would bring for him. "Hokage-sama, we have also scheduled your first ever council meeting tomorrow." The clan heads and other council members were also told about this. This is customary, much like the tour, in order to show the newly inducted Hokage the real council meetings, since as Hokage this is going to be a regular event in your life. The council members are anxious to hear from you. They are currently awaiting any form of news or plans you may have concerning Konoha's reconstruction plans, and while you are there I suggest for you to ready whatever idea you have in mind which requires approval from the council. Now if you ever have any more questions you wish to ask us, just look for us within our offices below you, she explained to Naruto as both she and Homura began to exit the office of the Hokage. But before the two could leave, Naruto decided to ask them one more question that has been bugging him all day. "Wait," he called out to them as the two refrained their actions and moved back into the front of Naruto's desk. "Yes, Hokage-sama, what do you need of us?" asked Homura. "Actually, Homura-san, Koharu-san, I have one final question, but it is more of a personal question," he admitted. "Of course, Hokage-sama, ask away," replied Koharu. Naruto gulped as he thought of ways not to sound rude towards the 2 elders. "Why are the 2 of you being so supportive of me?" he asked. As the moment those words came out of his mouth he realized his mistake, as it did sound slightly rude towards the 2 elders. "Excuse me?" Koharu asked in a confused tone. Naruto recomposed himself. "What I mean is, why are you 2 suddenly helping me and my chances at being Hokage? I would have thought that the both of you would be supporters of Danzo rather than myself, and I recall both of you not being particularly fond of me during my childhood," he explained. The 2 elders' expressions softened. They now understood Naruto's confusion towards the whole situation. Koharu looked at Homura and the elder man nodded to her, giving her the confirmation to finally explain their views concerning the matter at hand to Naruto. Koharu sighed. "We will admit, Hokage-sama, when you were growing up we weren't particularly your biggest fans. We admit that we were even on Danzo's side when the topic at hand was concerning you. We thought it would be best for you to be placed in Root rather than the academy, but the Sandaime always rejected Danzo's suggestions to place you in Root. But as you continued to grow, so did our opinions about you, she explained. Naruto listened attentively. He flinched at the mention of his possible recruitment to Root. He was extremely grateful towards the Sandaime that he had not been placed in that horrible faction. The Sandaime was the first key factor in changing our views about you. Hiruzen was always a kind and nurturing man, and he thought the world of you. He always believed in you, and that belief soon rubbed on us. When we saw you risk your life during the Chunin exams, and when we saw you willingly take on pain by yourself, we saw you for who you truly were. She continued. Naruto looked at the two elders in surprise. He hadn't known that he has this effect on people. Ever since the Chunin exams, we saw your potential and the love you held for the village. We also saw the will of fire burning brightly within you. We could see greatness in your near future, and we even believed you could even one day become Hokage. We just didn't think it would be so soon, and although we believe in you, we aren't necessarily sold on you already becoming Hokage. You are much too young, Hokage-sama, and you don't have the required knowledge, political savviness nor etiquette to truly be a Kage, at least not yet. We want you to one day be Hokage, but we would have preferred it to be the later rather than sooner. We wished that by the time you were chosen as Hokage you would have already been equipped with the required skills and knowledge rather than having to be baptized in fire. Naruto nodded, fully understanding the source of their worries and reluctance. He was not at all surprised that it revolved around his immaturity, unrefined nature, impatience and naivete. A Kage needed the perfect blend of both strength and knowledge, but at this point in time Naruto was more than aware that his strength was far more superior to his knowledge. If he were to be a successful Hokage, he needed to grow up, mature and learn as much as he can, and he planned on doing just that. Although we do agree with Danzo from time to time, and although we are friends with him, even we must admit that we would rather have you as Rokudaime Hokage than him, she confessed as Naruto was broken out of his thoughts. He stared at the elderly woman with a shocked expression. What do you mean? He asked. Danzo is too aggressive and ambitious for his own good, and though he cares for Konoha as much as we do, his methods of showing it are questionable to say the least. Naruto nodded in understanding. But Hokage-sama, it is what it is, and there is no way to turn back time. We are still more than happy that you're Hokage, but that does not mean we will always be on your side during arguments and debates. We may be supporters of you, but our main priority is Konoha and the village's well-being. We may not always appear to be your friends, Hokage-sama, but we will do everything we can to help you live up to your potential. Naruto looked at Kaharu, surprised at the words she told him. He smiled at the two elders and felt happy to know that he did have people who believed in him. Arigato Kaharu-san, Homura-san, Naruto told the two. The two bowed respectfully to Naruto. Hokage-sama, we may not believe you are ready just yet for your position, but we will assist you in any way possible to hone your potential for you be a great Hokage, Homura said before the two elders began to leave Naruto's office. But before the two left, Homura remembered something important. Also, before we leave, Hokage-sama, I wish to give you something to help you start off with, Homura told Naruto as he handed him a moderate-sized storage scroll. Inside the storage scroll are books on topics such as politics, history and economics. These are merely a small collection of books within our office which could help you develop your skills as Hokage. I recommend for you to read them as soon as you can. Consider this our congratulatory gift, Hokage-sama. Naruto nodded and thanked the two. He quickly stood up from his chair and led the two towards his door. Once the two were gone, he glanced at the clock in his room. He noticed it was still mid-afternoon and he still had quite a bit of time to kill. Choosing to do something productive, he decided to head over to the Konoha Archive Library once more while leaving his clones with the dreaded paperwork. As he entered the area, he browsed the catalogs and the inventory quite thoroughly, and he managed to use clones to speed up the process once more. After a few hours, he managed to acquire a large pile of items from the private library. One of the first things he borrowed was the various jutsu scrolls in the library. He focused mostly on the wind manipulation scrolls and scrolls for non-elemental techniques such as Fuinjutsu, Shurikenjutsu, barrier ninjutsu, and for clone techniques. Naruto decided to take those scrolls to give himself variation when it came to combat. He was aware that as Hokage he needed a much wider arsenal of techniques, seeing as how a Kage was described as a ninja who should at least know 1,000 techniques. He realized that during his battle with pain, Had it not been for the Kyuubi's intervention during the battle, he may not have lived for another day. With that in mind, Naruto learned that if another situation arises such as the attack of pain, Naruto needed a wider variety of techniques if he wished to protect Konoha without the assistance of the Kyuubi. The combination of shadow clones and Rasengan variations were no longer enough. He needed to branch out in order to learn how to truly be a cage-level shinobi. Despite only focusing on wind manipulation for now, that didn't necessarily mean Naruto was going to solely stick with his affinity. He was certain that the previous Hokages had at least known 3 elements. The Yondaime was the youngest Hokage before him, and he was a master of 3 elements, and he had the least of the other Hokages, not including Naruto. Tsunade was even a master of 4 elements, and even Naruto's 2 teachers had the ability to use 4, seeing as how both Kakashi and Jiraiya each mastered the same amount of elements as Tsunade. While on the other hand the Shodai, Nadaime and Sandaime were each on another level, having mastered all 5 of the basic elements, with the Shodai also mastering his Kekkei Genkai, Mokuden. Naruto realized he had to train and better himself constantly if he wished to live up to ninjas of that caliber, but for now he will take it one step at a time, starting with wind, and soon hopefully he will master his affinity and move on to other elements. Another goal of Naruto was to also finally master the Rasengan. He grabbed the scrolls of his father concerning the Rasengan in order to learn how to use it without the need of clones, and hopefully once he masters that he could do the same with the Rasenshuriken and then move on to his father's other move, the Hiraishin. All in all, he saw that he needed to improve in various areas if he wished to be known as Konoha's greatest Hokage, and because of that he also took the notes, journals, documents, folders and files of the past regimes of Konoha in order to better understand the reign of each of Konoha's past Hokages. Naruto recognized the importance of learning his history and the past events of Konoha in order for him to see what he could do better and he could avoid in the future. The young Hokage was beyond determined to surpass all those who came before him, and so he took as much as he can from the library, and once he was done he stored them all in a storage scroll as large as his shadow clone summoning scroll. Once he was finished getting the things he needed, Naruto decided it was finally time to call it a day. He brought the scroll with him and called back the clones in his office. As he recalled their memory, he grinned at use of his shadow clones. Despite the large quantities of reading he has to do with the books given to him by the elders, the paperwork he has to complete and the items he borrowed from the Konoha Archive Library, he could easily trim the time he will need to complete quite significantly due to the insane amounts of shadow clones he could form easily. As he exited the library he saw that the sun had finally set and the night was finally upon them. He suddenly yawned and sensed that the day had taken a toll on him. He decided to head over back to his tent in order to get a good night's sleep to prepare himself for the ordeal he was going to have the very next day. Unknown area. Team Taka were quickly running through the trees to make it to Sasuke's former home, Konoha. During the journey the team was relatively silent, well, at least more silent than usual. Sasuke led the group, but he was engrossed with his past memories with Itachi. That has been occupying his mind lately since he learned the truth of the massacre from the Akatsuki leader Madara Uchiha. He clenched his fist in anger at the thought of the village's crimes towards the Uchiha. He vowed to be the one to avenge his clan. Their silent journey continued until they noticed a portal-like distortion in front of them. The 4 stopped to see what it was. Suddenly they noticed a masked man walk out of the tunnel. Team Taka recognized the man as Madara Uchiha. The masked man suddenly noticed the company. He raised a hand and greeted the 4. "Hey Sasuke," he said nonchalantly. Sasuke didn't seem surprised at the arrival of his distant relative while his 3 other teammates were in shock. "What the hell? How did this guy do that? I didn't even sense his chakra. It was as if his chakra just came out of nowhere," Karen frantically thought to herself. Suigetsu cursed at the arrival of the leader of Akatsuki. "Shit, bad timing," he mumbled to himself. Sasuke was the only one unfazed from the 4. He looked at Madara with an uninterested expression. "How did you find us?" he asked him. Madara scoffed at the foolish question of the young Uchiha. "Don't underestimate my power, Sasuke. This is just the tip of the iceberg," he replied. Sasuke nodded stoically. "What do you want with me and my team? Team Taka is no longer a part of the Akatsuki. We have no use of you in your group anymore." Madara shook his head at Sasuke's foolishness. "Tisk, tisk, tisk Sasuke. Did you forget our deal?" he asked rhetorically. "I told you that I will kill you and your team if you betray me, and it seems that you did just that," he said calmly. Sasuke looked at the man confused. What the hell are you even talking about? He demanded. I'm talking about the Eight Tails Jinchuriki. You failed me, Sasuke. What are you talking about? We captured him and even delivered him to you, intervened Karen. Madara slowly turned his head towards the red-headed Kunoichi. It was a fake, my dear. He tricked all three of you, he informed them as she gasped. In the back, Jugo remained calm, but Suigetsu gritted his teeth. The Hachibi Jinchuriki really pulled the fast one on the four of you. I'm quite disappointed, I must say. Here I thought you four had potential as a team, he admitted as Sasuke clenched his fist in anger. He hated to fail and he hated to be looked down upon. He recalled the battle itself and soon his eyes widened as he realized that Madara did speak the truth. During the battle he truly did give them the slip. Suigetsu broke the awkward silence as he marched towards the masked man. What do you want us to do about it? We already did our job. He yelled angrily, but the volume had no effect on Madara, seeing as how he remained and stood as calm as before. No, you will fulfill your promise to me and my group. But I am no longer interested in the Hachibi Jinchuriki. Instead I have another target I have in mind for you four. Sasuke faced the older Uchiha. And what if I said no? He asked daringly. Then you will have to face me if you wish to make it to Konoha. And I'm sure all four of you know that even with your combined powers you four are still too weak to even challenge me, he answered while flaring his chakra slightly, causing Karen and Suigetsu to gulp nervously due to the power of his chakra. Sasuke paid his threats no mind. He readied his Chidori and jumped towards the masked man only for him to pass through the older Uchiha. His eyes widened at the power of Madara. As Sasuke passed through him, he whispered something to Sasuke. It's too late to go to Konoha now. Sasuke jumped back to his team after recovering. His eyes were widened due to the statement in Madara's power. The rest of the team also looked in shock at the power of Madara. There is no point in your goal anymore, Sasuke. It's futile. Too bad for you. What do you mean? Sasuke asked as he glared at the masked man. Konoha has been destroyed, Sasuke. The whole of Team Taka were further shocked with the revelation. Karen was the first to recover. What are you talking about? She asked him. Madara was about to speak until he noticed another chakra source. Out from the ground Zetsu popped up. The members of Taka were unsurprised to see the Akatsuki spy pop up out of nowhere. During their time in the group they have learned of the plant-like man's powers. Allow me to explain, Madara-sama, asked Zetsu as Madara nodded, but not before asking him a question. Suzetsu, I assume you did as you were told. Who was named Hokage? I assume was Danzo. Zetsu faced his master. During my spying mission in Konoha I found out that there were 3 candidates for the position of Hokage. One was Danzo Shimura, the second was Naruto Uzumaki and the third was Kakashi Hatake, explained the Akatsuki spy as Sasuke looked surprised at the inclusion of his former teammate. Unknown to the group, however, Madara flinched slightly upon hearing the name of the third candidate. He unknowingly tightened his jaw upon hearing that name possibly become the Hokage of Konoha. Madara quickly composed himself in order to avoid arousing suspicion. He turned to Zetsu once more. Tell me who was chosen, he demanded impatiently, but Zetsu remained unaffected by the man's sudden loss of composure. In the end it was the Kyuubi Jinchuriki Naruto Uzumaki. He told him as the members of Team Taka had shocked expressions, but the most shocked would be Sasuke. The young Uchiha's eyes widened in shock and his mouth was slightly agape. Madara on the other hand was slightly surprised by this. He had expected Danzo, but with this piece of information it seems his plans have changed once more. Madara suddenly began to laugh mirthlessly. He could see the irony of it all upon hearing the news. Is this true, Zetsu? Are you certain? He asked him. Zetsu nodded. It is true. His power has certainly reached the levels of a Kage, he assured. Madara sighed. This meant that once again a wrench was thrown into his plans, and lo and behold the cause was Naruto once more. This spelled bad news for the Akatsuki since Naruto's protection is now heavily increased as Hokage, and also it is rare for a Kage to leave their village, seeing as how they manage the village within the confines of their own personal office. Capturing Naruto was now much more difficult, seeing as how he gained the strength to defeat an enemy the caliber of Pain, and how if Akatsuki wanted to get to Naruto they now had to go through all of Konoha. It didn't help that Pain also revived the ninjas he killed in his attack of Konoha. As Madara thought about his next course of action, one thing was for certain. Naruto was now their priority at this point in time. Sasuke clenched his fist and gritted his teeth upon hearing the news. there is no way that the Dobi is Hokage, he thought to himself. Sasuke was filled with inner turmoil at the moment. He couldn't believe that Naruto had the power of a Kage already. They had just seen each other a few months back just after Naruto, Sakura, Sai and Yamato's battle with Kabuto and Orochimaru at the Tenchi Bridge. During their battle Naruto was no match for him whatsoever. Even with the help of the other three he could have easily defeated them, but now it seems that was not the case. The young Uchiha hated to be outshined and hated to be weaker than anybody, but the one thing he hated most was the thought that Naruto could have been better than him. Ever since he knew him he had been better than the dead last in everything. And even though he once considered him to be a brother he would not allow him to exceed him in any way. He quickly shook his head for those thoughts to disappear for now. Before he deals with Naruto he needed to know about what had happened to Konoha. He looked towards the two Akatsuki members. I don't care if Naruto is Hokage or not. Tell me about Konoha, he demanded as he attempted to hide his true feelings and thoughts about the information. Madara glanced towards the younger Uchiha. Pain, I ordered one of the Akatsuki members to attack Konoha, and it seems both he and you have made quite a commotion in the 5 nations. After your attack on the Hachibi and Pain's attack on the Kyuubi the 5 nations have been in distress. No longer were Konoha and Suna the only villages seeing us as legitimate threats. At least 2 more have begun actions to counter our moves, he explained to the 4-man team before Zetsu interrupted him. Allow me to explain Madara-sama, he asked as Madara nodded. Zetsu then went on to explain the battle of Pain and Naruto. The 4 were surprised at the level of destruction the 2 caused around the land of fire along with Naruto's growth as a ninja. They were all further shocked to hear that Pain wielded the legendary Rinnegan. They couldn't believe Naruto could defeat a man of that caliber. With the news told to them the 3 recruited members of Team Taka were unsure of what to believe from Sasuke. They were constantly told stories of Team 7 and how weak Naruto was when compared to him, and now here they were hearing about the accomplishments of Naruto. After a while Zetsu managed to complete his explanation leaving the 4 dumbfounded. Suigetsu looked at the Akatsuki spy. He was still slightly unsure about all of this. Are you sure that Naruto actually did all of that? He asked him, causing Zetsu to nod. He shuddered at the thought of someone wielding that much power and potential. I assure you all that I speak the truth. Naruto's powers increased immensely ever since he learned Senjutsu. He is even stronger than Sasuke-kun, said Zetsu teasingly. Sasuke glared at the plant-like man and unleashed a little bit of ki. I don't care about all of that. Tell me about this summit you spoke of, he demanded angrily as his emotions showed his true thoughts on the matter at hand. Madara sensed Sasuke's uncontrollable emotions when it came to matters such as this. He grinned as he saw Sasuke in this state. His superiority complex when it came to Naruto made him an easy target to manipulate. This could prove to be an excellent opportunity for Akatsuki, he thought to himself. Suigetsu then walked over to Sasuke and broke the tense silence. What are you thinking, Sasuke? Why are we even talking about this summit meeting? Isn't our mission to kill Danzo and the elders of Konoha? He asked. Sasuke looked at his sword-wielding teammate with a stoic demeanor. Do not worry, Suigetsu. I still plan on killing Danzo and the elders, but before then I have something I have to prove. I have a target before we get to the elders. I wish to kill my brother, he told them with a maniacal grin as the 3 looked at him confused. Suigetsu looked confused. What do you mean, your brother? We already killed Itachi, he asked him as Sasuke glared at him for bringing up old wounds. Suigetsu stood back a bit once Sasuke began to unveil his new Mangekyo Sharingan at him. You wouldn't understand, Suigetsu. None of you would understand. This is just something I must do. Something inside of me will not allow Naruto to continue what he is doing, he told them, finally losing his cool. In the back Madara's grin further increased, but the expression was hidden underneath his mask.